Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to chat about the correct way to practice. The method that I'm going to show you today will save you hours and hours of practicing, and it will actually ensure that you can play bass lines correctly instead of fumbling through them all the time and making mistakes. I'll also chat briefly about the science of what happens in your brain when you're practicing. This will really help you out. This video was inspired by a recent video series by Dr Molly Gebrian about how current brain research can help musicians practice more efficiently. I've put a link to her video below in the description. When you're in the description, you'll also find a link to the free lesson PDF. When you've got a new lick or bass line that you've got to learn, the first thing you do is play it very, very slowly. A lot of musicians, when they're presented with a new piece of music, would just play it through. When they make a mistake, they'll go back to the beginning. And what happens is they just keep playing that same mistake, and you just reinforce the mistake instead of fixing it. Now, the reason for constantly making this mistake is that when you do a new task, the brain creates a synapse between two neurons. You can think of this as a connection that helps you to remember a task. An electrical current travels down the long arm of a neuron called an axon. It then travels through the synapse to the next neuron, and this triggers the movement needed to do that particular task. As you repeat the task, a fatty myelin sheath is formed around the axon, and this insulates the electrical current, making it travel faster. So the more you repeat the task, the thicker the myelin sheath gets. In a nutshell, the more that you play a lick or a bass line incorrectly, the more that you reinforce that wrong connection. As you can then imagine, it becomes harder and harder to play the lick correctly. The obvious solution is to create the correct connection in our brain from the very start. You'll then find that the process of learning new material becomes much faster. You just have to have more discipline at the beginning. If you're enjoying this video, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the red subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And if you click the bell and select all, you'll get notified as soon as I release a new video. So let's put this into practice. I'm going to show you a bass exercise first of all. This is from my warm-up book for bass players. If you want to check out that book, then click the link below this video in the description, or you should get a pop-up here that you can click. I'll play the exercise for you first. So that exercise is based around the notes of the A major scale. So it's got some scalic patterns and some intervals in there. When approaching this exercise, what I would do is I'd break it down into 2-bar sections. So there are 4 2-bar sections here. You could even break it down to sections of 1 bar in length, or just 4 notes, or even a couple of notes, okay? Just break it down to its smallest parts. And make sure that you play it very, very slowly but correctly. You don't necessarily even have to play it in time first of all, just get the notes correct so you can pick it through very slowly like this. Okay, that's the first bar. When you're doing that, look at your technique, okay? And also look at fingering patterns. You might need to work out the correct fingering pattern or one that works for you. Okay, we've got some options on this first bit here. These 2 notes, E and A, they're in fourths, so we've just got to go to these frets here. You might want to do those as 3, 4, okay, or just use your 4th finger. You don't really want to bar it because that E will ring out, but you can kind of hop with your little finger. But it's important to pick a fingering pattern that you like and stick with that. because if you're indecisive when you're playing it faster, then you'll probably make a mistake. So we'll work through bars 1 and 2. So that was bar 1. So I'm going to decide to use my little finger for the E and the A, and then the next bit. Okay, so these are just kind of scale patterns here. And then a third, and then a fourth. Okay, and then just running up and down the scale for the next bar. Okay, so I'll do it slowly. Now, obviously, I've looked at this before, okay, when I was planning the lesson, so I'm going through it more quickly than you might do. So it doesn't matter how long it takes you to work it out, play it correctly, even if you just do the first 4 notes. Okay. Like that. And only move on when you're happy that you play it correctly. Okay, let's look at bars 3 and 4. Okay, so that's the same as bar 1. So when you've learnt bar 1, you've learnt bar 3. Okay, and then bar 4. Okay, so I think about that as thirds here. Okay, so thirds, and then here, leading to A in bar 5. That's just, these are kind of the notes of the pentatonic. Okay, A, F sharp, E, C sharp, A. So it might help you to think in patterns and to kind of work out what the intervals are, and then it's kind of ingrained in your head. Okay, I'll play bars 3 and 4. Okay, we'll move on to bars 5 and 6. Okay, so that's very similar to bars 1 and 3. We've just got that G sharp, okay? Now, if we look at the next bar, we're going to have the shift. So we can work out where we shift. Now, this is the place I'd shift. I'd start from bar 5. And I'd shift here on the E. Okay, but that's up to you. You can play and shift into the A. But just decide which one you like best and stick with it, okay? I'm going to shift on the E, all right, like this. Okay, and then I can play it all without shifting. Okay, so again there. So that's really, I think about that as the kind of major pentatonic. Okay. Just those 4 notes. So you could really practice that until you're happy. And then with the E and the G sharp before it. Okay, so when I have those 2 bars, I always think shift, shift, shift. So keep doing it until you're happy and you automatically shift there, because you're kind of making that connection with the neuron in your brain, okay? So you could just do the first bar and just work on that shift just to reinforce that connection. Again. Okay, when you're happy, carry on. And let's look at the last 2 bars, we're going to need to shift at some point. So let's just try it out. Shifting after bar 6. So bar 6. Shift to that C sharp and see if that works. Yeah, that works. Okay, and we just got thirds here. You just have to remember whether they're major or minor thirds, but they're just the notes of the A major scale. Third, 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 root note. Okay, so they're just thirds there. So then you need to work on that shift, okay? So let's play bars 5. Let's play bars 6 into 7 like this. Shift. And again. Shift. So as well as cutting up the sections, okay, it's important to run some of the sections into the next section if there's a shift. Then your brain will know, okay, you're just forming that connection that each time you see that you have to shift, okay. If you're treating them in isolation and never practice them together until the end, you might not shift, okay. I'm now going to play through the whole exercise. Now if you haven't paused the video and worked on each of these sections, then don't try and play it through with me, just listen, okay. But only play the whole thing when you feel that you've worked on all of the sections and can play them correctly, okay? Now, because we worked on those sections slowly, my fingers just automatically shifted where I needed to, okay? That process has become automatic. Now, and depending on your skill set and your level, this might take longer, okay, for each person. So only play the whole thing once you've got the sections correctly. And then when you know it, you can kind of speed it up. Okay, because my fingers know what they're doing, I can play that correctly when I play it faster. So when you can play the exercise perfectly, then speed it up gradually to the desired tempo. This might be minutes for some of you, hours for others, or maybe even weeks. It doesn't really matter, okay? The more you reinforce the correct pathways, the faster and more accurately you'll be able to play. It's really that simple. What I suggest you do now is download the free PDF and work on the exercise using the method I've just shown you. If you like this exercise, then check out my warm-up book for bass players. That's got loads more technical exercises that you can use to improve your bass playing. The link to the book is below in the description. I'd love to know what you thought of this video, so let me know by leaving a comment below. And also, if you've got any other links to videos talking about the science of practicing, then post them below in a comment. I love viewing those and learning more. I have to learn new music all the time because of my job, so anything that kind of shortens that process is like gold dust. You can really help me out by liking and sharing this video and also subscribing to my channel. And if you felt you got value out of this video, you can always buy me a coffee. The details are at the bottom of the screen here. They're $5, or you can click the link below in the description. Also, don't forget to check out my website, gbshed.com. I've got bass resources there, courses, books, details of my membership and my one-to-one lessons. That's gbshed.com. This is Greg from Greg's Bass Shed. Hope to see you very soon in the next video.